Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing good today. Today, I'm going to guide you through the process of writing a three-paragraph story. And this three-paragraph story uh, will be the result of your raw materials, okay? And as usual, now let me share with you what I have prepared for all of you, all right? Okay, yes, three-paragraph story. A story that contains only three paragraphs. So this is another way of saying that you will need to present your story with economy, with a sense of, well, efficiency. Okay, now let me share with you further. So what we are now going to do is turning the raw materials from last week into a presentable written work. By raw materials here, I mean what you created out of your own experience. See, last week, what we did was we took something from our experience and then we turned it into fictional by changing some elements or by inserting new elements or by even modifying the main part of that experience. And what we created was a story, quote unquote, which is fictional, not exactly like what happened. It was the result of processing your experience into something fictional. Now, we are going to turn that story, that fictional thing you created last week, into a presentable work. So, when we talk about literature or fiction, there are actually various ways to present our story. We can present our story in a short story or in a novel or in comic strips, which are very common, movies or animated movies or short films, or even IG Reel. These are all forms or ways to present our story. And what we choose today happens to be the so-called three-paragraph story. Now, there might be various ways to present our story, but at least there are few things that make all of the stories, well, similar, various types of stories which are made for enjoyment, made for consumption, and made for people to enjoy. They have these elements that help people actually imagine them. And these elements are the characters. It can be humans, it can be animals, it can be objects, even like Toy Story, And these characters need to have some sort of space, and that's the settings. Yeah, the settings of time and settings of place. We need that so that the characters don't just float in the air. They need to have a space to anchor and to be imagined at. And lastly, you need to also have the plot or the movement of these characters. Usually, these characters move in response to their settings or in response to other characters around them. So no matter what types of form you want to use to present your story, they usually need this in order for people to be able to imagine them. Okay, now, why do we try the three-paragraph story of all the forms that we know in the world? There are three reasons basically why I choose this. The first one is by making it short and brief, you can give more focus on each element of the story. And by each element here, I'm referring to the plot, characters, and settings. If we start with something big, something long, usually we cannot give enough focus on each of these elements. So starting it short with a three-paragraph story is a good way to give more focus to each of these elements. And the second thing is to optimize our language exploration. As I said at the beginning of this semester, we all are studying English here. And we need to practice the language that we have learned, okay? And one of the ways to practice it is by writing it, okay? Now, when we have too much to write for a short story, we cannot actually focus on the language adequately. That's why we try to trim it down for the start here so that you can explore more, you can find the best way to say certain things in this limited space. And lastly, it's going to be for practicing the structure. Every form has its own structure. The structure of a movie, for example, is different from the structure of a short story. And the structure of a short story might be different from the structure of comic. Each of these has its own structure, and each of these has its own highlight. Now, what we are doing is practicing the structure of a three-paragraph story. Now, what is the structure like? So let me now introduce you to the structure of a three-paragraph story, which I take from the Indonesian new genre called pentigraph. Pentigraph or cerpen paragraph was initiated, as far as I'm concerned, by a man called Tengsu Cahyono, someone who lives in Malang, who teaches in Surabaya. So Tengsu Cahyono has a community called Kampung Pentigraph, in which he gathers people and together they write stories which consist of only 3 paragraphs. And from what thanks to Cahyono and the community introduced, we can get that a 3-paragraph story has quite a fixed structure. The first one, paragraph 1, is the exposition of the characters or the settings. Paragraph 2 is when the conflict or argument of the story is introduced. And lastly, in paragraph 3, we get the resolution of this conflict that involves the characters. So here, the conflict is resolved, but usually at the very end of this paragraph 3, we have a plot twist. And that keeps happening in pentigraphs or 3-paragraph stories. Now, what we always have in mind, or what we always assume, is that what the genre here means by paragraph is just like any other paragraphs. A paragraph needs to be a whole unit of thought. It needs to have one, say, main sentence supported by supporting sentences or the supporting section. This also applies in a 3-paragraph story. Sometimes you can insert a dialogue in it, but still it has to be in line with the thought captured in that paragraph. If one paragraph wants to talk about the conflict, then the dialogue there needs to support the conflict. Can you use the dialogue? Yeah, of course, you can use the dialogue, but you need to remember that you have a limited space here. So the economy of words in using the dialogue is necessary. You cannot make an exchange or dialogue between 2 characters that keep happening without really, if they are not really meaningful, okay? So you can use a dialogue, but keep it short or keep it only to the most important statements that the character makes. Now, to make it clearer, let me give you one example from the raw materials that I came up with last week, okay? It's about the day of the Hornet attack. Now, you remember that this was based on my experience, but then I tweaked the experience into something more dramatic. Now, this is how I will present the story to anyone. In the first paragraph, I will write about the character, which is now called Mar, who tried to have fun, but caused an accident. He tried to have fun because he didn't have any brother or sister at home, and he was bored, and he went out to the field with his friend. Over there, he saw a hornet uh, nest, and he hit the hornet's nest, and the hornet nest fell to the ground, and the hornets were angry. And at the same time, somebody passed by and got attacked by the hornets. That's the end of the first one. It's about a boy who tried to have fun but caused an accident. Then came the second paragraph, which is the conflict. The first one was already big, right? Now the second one is even bigger. Here it is revealed that when Mar went home and cried and hid in his room, his parents found out about it and told Mar the hard truth, which is the death of the woman who passed by and got attacked by the hornets. There is probably a dialogue there, but I haven't decided yet. Now comes the third paragraph, in which the family tried to resolve the problem that Mar had caused by adopting the child. Now, the child grew up to be a healthy boy, and he became close to Mar like brothers. And Mar, when he's grown up, he's actually happy to have a brother. However, he realized that his happiness came at a cost of the death of a person. That's how the story ends. The realization of the cost of having a brother is what I consider as the plot twist in this story. Okay, so I hope you can try to also do something like this. I will write the story and show it to you later on. So we are in the same course now. Now, after you have all this, you need to remember several things, okay? These are the points that you need to note. However, take a look at this only after you're done writing the draft, okay? So the first thing is that you need to show the characters. You need to show their characterization, not tell your readers about the characterization. For example, your character is a brave person. Yeah, but you cannot say that my character, Zuko, is a brave boy. No, you are telling your audience if you do that. What you need to do instead is showing that Zuko puts out a candle by pinching the flame. That shows that Zuko is a brave boy without saying that Zuko is a brave boy. So that's what you need to aim to do with your characters. The second thing is about the economy of words. You need to make sure that you don't use too many words because of the limited space. Here we only have 3 paragraphs, and each of the paragraphs has its own role. So try to limit your use of words only to words that will support the function of each of the paragraphs. And lastly, pay attention to the consistency of grammar that you use. As I said last week, it's more common to use past tense when we write stories, but there are moments when you use simple present. In any case, be consistent in your use of grammar in the story. At the end, however, I need to remind you that these all happens ideally at the end of the process, after you finish drafting your story. If you try to draft the story and edit at the same time, it will be hard. Only Dylan can do that, okay? Yeah, you cannot write the story and edit at the same time because these two are different things. So only do this after you're done with the story, with the draft. I guess that's all from me. I hope you guys can do it as soon as you can and can start revising it and can create something out of it. I'll see you later on when when we have completed the draft. Okay, wait for my instruction further. Okay, bye.